Okay, so we are back, and we are back now for the Scale Up to Succession Plan Summit with Shelley Shulman from Shelley Shulman
Hey.
Strategy. Hi! Now, in my session earlier, I was just talking to you, to everyone about different ways to scale up a business and what they need to be thinking about. And essentially, what they're doing when they scale up their business is increasing their enterprise value, so what their business is worth when they want to sell it. But actually selling a business is quite overwhelming, and it takes a lot of strategy to try and reduce that overwhelm and manage their time effectively, because what they're normally doing is selling a business and scaling a business, but while still working day to day on the business as well. So they have so many balls in the air that they need to juggle at the same time. So I thought you'd be absolutely amazing to come in as a speaker today to talk about how you actually implement strategies and how you help people to actually overcome that. So I'm going to hand over to you to talk more about the strategies that you offer and a bit more about your business as well. So thank you
Thanks,
very much. I'm going to hand over.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. So I'm really, really excited to be here today, talking in the Scale Up to Succession Plan Summit. I'm really excited that Emma has invited me to come on. So for those of you who don't know me, I am Shelly Shulman, and I am a business strategist, and I help female entrepreneurs put a transformational strategy in place so that they can develop the freedom and the lifestyle that they desire. Why do I do that? Because I did it. I'm going to give you a little bit of information about my backstory. So whilst I am a business strategist, I am also a cake maker. And I started my cake making business back in 2006. So this month, my cake making business is actually 15 years old. And my business has continued to grow from strength to strength, which has been absolutely amazing. I have loved absolutely every single minute of the experience that it's given me. But as I've gone along that journey, all those years ago in 2006, Facebook wasn't even a thing. Business coaching wasn't really a thing. So I didn't have any business help. I didn't have any business advice. So as I was growing, I made a lot of mistakes. And some of those were really, really expensive mistakes. Some of them were really, really stupid mistakes. So I continued to grow, but it wasn't until I put a strategy in place, and it took me a good 10 years to do that, that I actually started to see the massive results that I wanted. And so after I've done that, so this must have been, 2015. I think I actually started, maybe even from 2016, that I started, to invest in my own business learning, to look at all the things that I was doing. I started to get massive results. So in the last couple of years, because of what was going on, I became a business coach for cake makers to help them grow their businesses, because I understood that actually they didn't have the experience that they needed business-wise. They made great cakes, but they didn't have the business experience that they needed. And over the last couple of years, like I said, I have then expanded that to helping all female entrepreneurs in general, which has been really, really amazing. And the reason I'm so passionate about this, and especially speaking in this summit, is because I'm now at that point where I'm now running two businesses. My cake making business is still going. Granted, it's a little bit quieter thanks to Corona, and a lot of stuff has moved over. But I'm also, building up the strategy business. So I'm at that point now where I am building the cake making business. And it's like, okay, so the strategy business is taking off. What do I then do? What do I do with that cake business? And I know, as Emma was saying, for a lot of females, I've had that conversation with my husband. Do I just wind it up? Do I sell it? What do I do? So to be able to speak here, like I say, is really, really, and to get the knowledge as well from today is really, really important for me, because I think, we build up these fabulous assets. And they are assets. I think sometimes we just start a business and they make us a little bit of money and we're quite happy. But they are assets. But there is a massive sense of overwhelm a lot of the time, particularly for females when they're in business, because not only are, and this might be quite sexist, but not only are we, doing the work in the business, we're also having to do the work on the business, and we're still also taking up quite a bit of slack in the household as well. So overwhelm is a really, really big thing. And I'm really, really sympathetic towards overwhelm, because back in 2012, I actually had a mental break because I was so overwhelmed by everything that was going on. At that point, my cake business was working from home. I had no let up. At that point, my kids were 12 and 9. So I was still trying to deal with everything that they were doing. People were phoning my house at midnight asking to order a cake, and it all just got too much. So to the point I actually then had a mental break. So then I had some big decisions to make. You know, what did I want to do? Do I just want to give up the cake business? Well, actually, no, because that's mine. You know, that was me. I wasn't somebody's mum, I wasn't somebody's wife. So I knew I had to put in really, really strong work processes to make sure that overwhelm wasn't a thing. And even though now, as I go forward, some days I do feel slightly overwhelmed, because we do, you know, from day to day, you know, going through life, we do have these things where we do feel, wow, I've got a lot to do. I remember when I had my mental break, it was really funny because I was having counselling and I would write a to-do list every single day of everything that needed to be done. And I was making myself ill actually trying to do that entire to-do list, to the point that my counsellor said, you're not allowed to write to-do lists anymore. Now, thankfully, years on, that's changed because the counsellor didn't solve the actual problem, as it wasn't so much the to-do list that were the problem. What was the problem was the fact that I was A, trying to do everything myself, and B, not breaking it down. So running your business, it's tricky, it's difficult. We have goals that we want to achieve. So let me touch on goals for a moment, just really, really quickly. So we all know that goals should be smart. You know, when we're setting our goals, they should be smart. So they should be specific, they should be measurable, they should be achievable, they should be realistic, and they should be time measured. Okay, so we know that thing. And funny thing is, I do that all the time. And I set my goals all the time. And I now implement that in other things in my life as well. Because one thing I always say is people will set a goal that says, well, actually, I want to earn more money. And I say, well, how much more money? Because technically, if you've earned 10p, that's more money. So you've ticked off your goal. And my daughter called me up on it the other day because she wanted a pair of trainers. And I've got a product out at the moment. She wanted a pair of trainers. And I said, look, if I sell more of these today, I'll buy you the trainers. I sold one more. So she said, well, I can buy the trainers now because you sold one more, Mum. And I was like, no, I kind of meant like more. But she said, but you weren't specific, were you? So, you know, we have to apply that element in everything and make sure that we are being really, really specific, because it's not just our daughters that will call us out. You know, our business will call us out as well. But the other way I like to look at goals is that I like goals to be epic as well as smart. Like I say, we all know the smart thing. Goals should be epic. So the goals that you're setting yourself in your business, first of all, you know, to scale your business, it should be exciting for you. You know, all the goals that you're setting yourself now should be to scale your business, you know, to scale up to the succession, whether you're planning to sell the business, you know, all the goals that we're setting ourselves now. But they should be exciting. It shouldn't be something that we feel like we have to just do. It should be an exciting process. We should get excited by the fact that, yes, we're growing such an amazing business that we're scaling it to such a point that we can sell it. Okay? The goals that you're setting yourself should be purposeful. So all the goals that you're now setting yourself as you go forward, as you start to grow, should be serving you a purpose. And so what I mean is that they should be contributing towards that greater goal. So if that greater goal is to grow the business to such a point that you want to sell it, all the goals that you're setting yourself should have a purpose that matches that. So it all just kind of comes together in a nice little flow. Your goals should be intuitive. Now, what I mean by intuitive is that they should really, really resonate with you in your heart. You know, these are goals that you actually want to do. They're not goals that somebody else has told you you should do. Now, we're really, really guilty of that, I think, as individuals. When I first started goal setting, I didn't set goals because they were goals that I actually wanted to achieve. I set goals because I thought it was what I should do to reach the next steps. So they didn't resonate with me. And because they didn't resonate with me, I didn't achieve them. The only goals that I started to achieve were the ones that I wrote down because I wanted them. So really make sure that those goals are intuitive and, you know, they really, really resonate with you. And then finally, make sure they're goals that you are committed to. You know, don't do what I call a fair weather goal. Don't just write it down and go, well, yeah, I'm going to write down this goal, and it, you know, if I achieve it, that's great. If I don't achieve it, you know, it doesn't matter. Make sure that these are goals that you are really, really committed to achieving, that you're going to do the work to achieve those goals, because you know that actually they're going to get you to that next stage. You know, so you show the commitment now, they're going to take you to the next level. You reach that goal, you show that commitment, it's going to take you to the next level. So one thing I like to do, if you're not sure about goals and, you know, you're like, well, why am I doing this goal? I always say, pick one goal, just one. And then what I want you to do is ask yourself 3 reasons why you want to achieve that goal. You need to be really, really passionate about the goals that you're doing. So why do you want it? Ask yourself 3 times, why do I want to achieve that goal? Why is it important to me? What do I want? You know, what do I want to do? Almost think of it like a child. You know, when the child asks a question and you give them an answer and they go, but why? But why? But why? Really, really dig down deep as to why you want to achieve that goal. Because sometimes that goal on the surface is actually just a cover up for something a little bit deeper. And when you finally find that true reason to why you want to achieve that goal, it becomes so much more clear, and it actually becomes so much easier to achieve. So once you've done that and you've got your reasons why you want to achieve it, write down 5 pieces of action that you're going to take to achieve that goal. And goals suddenly become so much easier to achieve. But of course, as business owners, we don't have one goal. We have hundreds of goals. So we end up with a really, really big list of goals and a really, really big, huge, massive to-do list. So this is where overwhelm can kick in, because we don't have a system. We have all of these things floating about our head and we say, okay, well, I've still got to do that, and I've still got to do this, and that person needs this, and this person needs this. So we can still, you know, we get overwhelmed. So I'm going to share you my tips on how I deal with this, how I took all the overwhelm out of it, and how now I work smarter. I don't work harder. I work less hours per day, and I actually earn more money from the stuff that I'm doing. So first of all, write a list. So write a list of everything that you have to do, which I know seems counterintuitive when actually you're trying to get rid of overwhelm. But it's a bit like ripping off a Band-Aid. Until you know exactly what it is you have to do, you're not going to get anywhere. So write a massive list of everything that you have to do. I do it. Sometimes my to-do list can be 3 A4 pages long, 3 A4 slides long. But I write it all down and I go, right, okay, this is everything that I need to do. Normally I do it on a month-by-month basis, but I kind of like go, this is everything that I need to do. I might break it down into quarters. And then once I've written that list down, I go make a cup of tea because, you know, overwhelm. And I'm like, oh my God, that's a lot of work. But then what I do is I prioritize it. So out of this huge list that I've written, I then go back and I go, but when does it have to be done by? Because that's where I used to go wrong. Because you have a to-do list, you kind of want to do everything now, right? And that's where I used to go wrong. That's where the counsellor called me up, because basically I was like running around like a headless chicken, just trying to get everything done in one day, because I didn't like to go to bed with a to-do list still in place. But when you actually look down at it, you know, some of this stuff doesn't have to be done for like another 4 or 5 or 6 weeks. So write down next to each item a deadline as to when that thing needs to actually be done by. Because what happens is some people like write a to-do list and they just start from the top, and then they start getting overwhelmed because actually the stuff at the top is the stuff that they think of first. Maybe it's bigger, but actually some of the smaller stuff needs to be done before, you know, some stuff at the bottom of the list actually needs to be done before the stuff at the top. So write down absolutely, you know, when does everything have to be done by. And then like rewrite your to-do list so then you have it in chronological order. Makes it so much easier. And then out of that list, can you delegate any of it? Is there anything on that list that you can get other people to do? Because as business owners, you know, we need to balance the amount of time that we're spending working in the business and working on the business. So as a guide, I try each week to do 50-50. So I try to spend 50% of my time working in the business and 50% of the time working on the business and working on its growth, which means there are some things, you know, realistically, I have to be realistic about how much I can get done in a certain time period. So it may be that I have to extend deadlines. It may be that something that I was like, well, actually, I wanted to do this by then. It's not realistic for me to get it done by then. So look at what you can delegate. I delegate a lot to my husband and my children. Sometimes it might be that there isn't something on the list that you can delegate, but there's other things that you do. So for me, I have that conversation quite regularly saying, well, actually, while I'm doing this, I need you to step up and do this stuff in the house. Today, I'm going to ask you to go and take the dogs for a walk so that I can spend that extra hour doing this. So be flexible. So it might be that there's not something on your to-do list that you can delegate, but there might be something else that you can delegate, you know, like cleaning the house or something like that. So cross off anything that you can delegate. So then you have a more slimline list. Okay. And this is where the strategy comes in. So we have to, you know, we can't just sit there and just work through a to-do list every single day and just get up in the morning and go, well, actually, I'm just going to continue to work through my to-do list. Okay. Doesn't kind of work. I have tried that method. Doesn't work. So we need to put that strategy in place. So on that to-do list, is there anything that you can break down into smaller chunks? Because when we write to do, and I need to do this, actually that big task can be broken down into smaller tasks. And the smaller we can break it down, the more achievable it actually becomes. So we might say, I have to schedule an entire month of social media. Well, of course, if you sit there and go, I have to schedule an entire month of social media, and you try and sit down and do it all in one day, that's going to seem overwhelming. But if that doesn't need to be done for a couple of weeks, you can actually say, well, actually, I can break that down into smaller chunks. So I'm not going to sit down and schedule all 30 days of social media in one day. I'm going to break it down. I'm going to schedule 7 posts a day. So see what you can break down, like I say, into manageable chunks. Only you know. People always said to me, you know, how do I know what's realistic? How do I know what's manageable? Well, you know your own limits. You know what you can and can't do. I know that I can sit there. So I do like different kinds of social media posts. So I do quotes and motivational posts, and I also do long copy posts. Now, the motivational quotes, I know that I can sit and schedule an entire month of motivational quotes in 3 hours. I know that, but I wouldn't say to somebody else, well, actually, you can schedule social media in 3 hours, because your social media content might be completely different. So only you know what is achievable for you. And even if you delegate it to staff, their time frames of doing things might be slightly different to yours. So be considerate of that as well. It might take them slightly longer to do the job that you're delegating. But if that job's going to take you 3 hours and it's going to take them 5, but it still gives you 3 hours to focus on something else, that's a good thing. So have a look, like I say, what you can break down. So you have it, this to-do list gets longer, but it gets more manageable. And then what you need to do is time block it. Now, I am a huge time blocking convert. Absolutely huge. Time blocking was the one piece of strategy that I put in place that absolutely changed my life. When I say that it gave me back more hours in a day, I'm not lying. It genuinely did give me more hours in a 24-hour day. Excuse me while I just take a slurp. So for those of you who don't know what time blocking is literally scheduling your day in hour chunks. So I will sit on a Sunday, I'll look at my to-do list. So I'll look at my to-do list and I'll go, right, what's everything that has to be done by Sunday? Like, what's everything that has to be done by the following weeks? Because I've got those deadlines written down. So what do I need to get done? So then I go, okay, so I need to fit all of that work into next week. Now, again, that overwhelm comes up because you're like, I don't have enough time to do that. Like, that's an insane amount of work to have to fit into a week. But it is doable, and time blocking helps take the overwhelm away. So when I start time blocking, what I do first of all is I'll grab my phone. So I always do it on a paper diary. I'm a huge lover of a pen and paper. That's me. That's how I choose to work. So I will go through, pick up my phone, I'll grab my calendar, and what I will do first of all is I will put in any appointments that I have. So say I've got one-to-one calls, say I've got meetings with clients, anything like that, anything that, can't be rescheduled, anything that can't be changed, I will put in. So it might be Monday at 11. I've got consultation. I've got a gym class or whatever. Anything that can't be changed, I pop in first because that's non-negotiable. You can't move that about. Then I will go through, and what I will then add is any kind of routine thing. So things that I do on a day-to-day basis, but actually it doesn't really matter what time of day that I do them. So things like emails, I have specific times when I check my emails. I used to be that person that had my emails opened all the time. And as soon as an email came in, I would answer it. So for example, now my emails are turned off because I'm on a call. I could never do that before. It gave me a sense of anxiety to have my emails closed because I thought, oh my God, I'm going to miss something. It's going to be really, really vital. But people can wait an hour, honestly. So I will answer my emails 9 o'clock in the morning, most mornings, unless I've got an appointment or something booked in, then I might do them an hour earlier. I might do them an hour later, but I will always schedule in time to do my emails every day. If I happen to have a little bit of time later on, I might check my emails a little bit later on. Now, that's not saying that I don't have my emails open so that if something vital comes in, I can reply to that. But we have to get really, really clear on what is the definition of vital. So if somebody, I have people messaging me for quotes, that's not vital. That's not life and death. Nobody is going to die if if they don't get a response until 9 o'clock the next morning. So get really, really clear on your own personal boundaries. So I write all of that in. So like emails, maybe if you have to do the school run, maybe because we balance a lot, there are a lot of different things that we do have to balance. So all those other things that we put in, pop all of those in. So for me, when I'm working in my business, Fridays is a non-day, especially if I've got cakes on, because Fridays, the cakes go out on Saturdays. Friday, I just pencil out completely for cake making. There's no point in me trying to schedule anything else in. That's what I'm going to have to do that day. So I put all of that in. If it helps, you can do it in different colours. So when I first started doing it, I did it in different colours, so reds were non-negotiable. I literally had a traffic light system. Reds were non-negotiable, can't move them. Amber was routine, something I had to do that day, but it didn't matter what time I did it. And then green, I used green for my goals and my to-do list. And then what I do is I pencil everything else in. So I do it in hour slots. So whether or not I know a task is going to take me an hour, so it could be that my emails are going to take me 10 minutes. Sometimes I don't have a lot of emails, but I always schedule in an hour. And the reason that I always schedule in an hour is because, sometimes emails can take a little bit longer. For example, I did my emails yesterday. One email took me 30 minutes because it was an email about setting up a system. So it took me a little bit longer. So, there's a bit of give and take, but it just means that I can just start the next job earlier. So I give myself that flexibility. It means that, you know, if I finish the emails within 30 minutes, I can go get myself a cup of tea, I can have a little bit of a break, and then I can go on to the next task. And I'm one of those people that plays like the beat the sat nav game. So if I can then get done in a day everything earlier, I find that works really, really well with me. So I can sit there and go, well, actually, you know, I was supposed to finish at 5 today, but I've done all my work by 4. I'm one of them. So I find that really, really helps. But what you don't want to do when you're filling all of this in, and like I say, we go back to that taking personal responsibility. You know what you are personally capable of. You know what you can achieve in an hour. So be realistic. Don't try and cram 2 hours work into 1 hour, because it's not going to work. You're going to set yourself up to fail. You're going to be really, really annoyed at your time blocking, and then you're going to quit. Time blocking does take a bit of a while to get used to. So make sure that you are leaving gaps. Make sure that you are leaving buffer zones. So when I do my time blocking, you know, between 12 and 1, there's always a gap. So that's normally when I have my lunch. But I don't fill out the entire day. You know, my day is from like 6 o'clock in the morning till 9 o'clock at night. I don't fill out the entire day with stuff. There are always blank spaces that I put dashes through. So if, for argument's sake, the emails, you know, might have taken me slightly longer, I needed to finish them by 10, I can either make that decision to finish them at 10 o'clock and then just do them in that buffer zone, or quickly just take the extra 10 minutes and just eat into that buffer zone. But it's really, really important you leave those gaps. Otherwise, you're just going to start running yourself in, you know, into the ground. But doing all of this, because you'll be surprised once you've taken that to-do list and put it into those hour slots, you'll actually then be surprised at how much time you have left. Because I've had an A4 list before that I then put into a week, and I'm like, actually, I've still got like all of my evenings free. It doesn't take me that long to do what I need to do. And you become so much more productive with your time. And this is the key to having strategy and having time blocking. It's becoming more productive with your time. It's knowing you have to own those habits that you have where you know you're not as productive. So for me, working from home, you know, I was guilty as sin. I would stop doing what I was doing. The washing machine would finish. I'd go and hang out the wash. I'd do all of those things. If I was making a cake, I'd put a film on. You know, I'd whack Netflix on and say, well, it's okay because it's only on in the background. But actually, it wasn't on in the background. You know, I'd have one eye on the cake and one eye on Netflix. And so things took me twice as long. So you do need to own, you know, and get rid of those things that you know help you procrastinate. And the one biggest tip that I have for that is to eat the frog. So I think it was Mark Twain that said it, you know, start the day by eating a frog. And what he meant by that is when you start the day, there are always jobs that we don't want to do. I've got some today that I don't want to do. But as soon as I come off of this live, you know, I'm going to do it because that's the start of effectively my day. But as soon as it's done, it means that I can get on with the rest of my day. Because what happens is we put off the things that we don't want to do, and then we procrastinate. So we say, well, actually, I do have to do this today. So I will do it today, but I'll do it a bit later on. But because you know you don't want to do it, what you're going to end up doing subconsciously is procrastinating with everything else that you are doing so that you don't have to do that thing at the end of the day. So everything else is going to take you twice as long, 3 times as long to actually do it, because in the back of your mind, niggling away like a little devil on your shoulder is going, haha, I'm still here. And so we don't want to do it. So just get that thing done. So when you're doing your time blocking, you know, the things that you know that you hate doing, just get it over and done with. I always associate it with ironing or going to the gym. It's one of those things that you don't want to do, but actually when you've done it and you get there, it's done and it's fine and it's over with, and you can then get on with the rest of your day. So that would be my biggest tip that I could come away with, because it does, those jobs that we don't want to do drain an awful amount of our energy if we allow them to. But we can take the power back and just get them done and get them sorted, and then we can get on with the rest of our day. So I really do hope that has helped. I will be back for the Q&A session at 7:30. So if you do have any questions at all about strategy or goal setting or time blocking, do please just ask and I'll be happy to help.
Thank you, Shelley. That was absolutely amazing. I know for me, definitely, I'm guilty of doing a lot of those things. So for me as well, I've definitely learned a lot today, and I'm definitely going to be implementing them going forward, because obviously, even when I teach exit strategies, obviously I know exactly where my business is going in the next 5 years. But to actually plan it out to make it more achievable, I know that we can implement strategies then that increase our turnover. And when we increase our turnover, we increase the value of our business, and then the asset that our business is worth more money. So it's absolutely essential that people do this. It's so important. So we really appreciate you.
It's weird, isn't it? Because you kind of think, well, if I'm selling it, why am I putting the work in? But actually, you're going to be putting the work in. It's like for me at the moment, with the cake business, I'm still doing all the social media. I'm still making sure all the SEO is tight. I'm still making sure everything else is done, so that if I do choose to sell it, the asset is there, rather than just stepping back and going, but why am I doing that if I'm going to sell it? Which I know is a mindset that that some people do have.
And actually, I can't remember the exact percentage, but an extremely high percentage of M&A deals actually fall through because the sellers become overwhelmed, and in the end they go, oh, do you know what? I'm just not going to sell it, because they haven't realize actually what it takes to sell a business. And if they just prepared their business for sale before, I've got everything in place ready to sell it, they'd have been ready, and they just wouldn't have they wouldn't have done it. Also, when they're selling, they'll experience a dip in income, because they're having to take their minds out of running the business into actually pulling everything together to sell it. So these strategies are absolutely essential if you're preparing your business for sale.
Exactly. If there's in place as well, they may not see the dip in income because they would have put the strategy in place to continue to thrive whilst because they're going to have to remove themselves from the business at some point anyway. So you need to make sure that you put the strategies in place so your business can survive without you there, so that you can then take that step back. I always say it's a bit like going on holiday for 2 weeks. If you go on holiday for 2 weeks, okay, granted, if I went on holiday for 2 weeks, I wasn't making any cakes, but all my social media was still there. All the inquiries were still coming in. I was, everything was still generated, and I could just sit there on a sunbed and I could answer the emails. Like I say, 9 o'clock in the morning, I would answer the emails from a sunbed. That would be it for the day. And I would still make money while I was away from the business doing the other things.
100%. No, that's so valuable. Thank you so much for joining us today. Just a reminder that at 12 o'clock, we've got Rebecca Pope coming up for More Money Savvy. She's going to be talking to us about money mindset, because again, when female entrepreneurs think about their business as an asset, they often don't think of it that way because of mindset issues. So she's going to talk to us a little bit about overcoming that, and also about actually when you sell your business and you've got this cash pot there, a lot of people actually then don't know what to really do with that cash point. So she's going to give you some advice on that as well. So that is essential. And then obviously we're all back at 7:30 this evening to do a live Q&A speaker panel, and I've got a list of questions that's been coming in through the day, which we're then all going to answer as a panel later on. So it's like loose women eat your heart out this evening. So if you're watching, make sure you come back 7:30. We may probably all have a glass of wine by then once we've got through today, so we can join us with that. But yeah, thank you so much, Shelley, for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for inviting me to do it.
No worries. Okay. So thank you. I will see you at 11 o'clock this evening. 8 o'clock this evening. So we'll see you at that's how much today's gone. We'll see you at 12 o'clock and then 7:30 this evening. And then to obviously carry on the summit soon. So thank you very much for joining.